drug that stops at nothing.
It's taken my children, my freedom, my teeth, my looks, my ability to function in society.
It has a dozen names: Crystal, Ice, Tina, Crank. Most just call it meth, short for methamphetamine. It's more powerful and cheaper than cocaine.
Your typical hit can keep somebody high anywhere from 6 to 12 hours.
And you can make it in your own backyard.
If you can make chocolate chip cookies, then you can cook methamphetamine.
Now go inside the world of meth to examine a growing international problem, from Mexican meth runners heading north to an Asian nation in crisis. We'll find out where it's hitting and who it's hurting. And we'll uncover how meth destroys its victims' body, mind, and soul. As we take an insider's look at what many are calling the world's most dangerous drug. On a cold winter's night in Geneva, Nebraska, a policeman pulls over a truck with a missing taillight. Inside are 20-year-old college student named Janelle Hornicle and her boyfriend, Michael Wamsley.
You have your license, registration, insurance with you? You didn't signal back at 13th and after your back taillight's out.
The officer warns them to fix the light, but they seem confused. They ask him for directions.
Well, we're going south. I'm lost east of here. Pacific in Geneva.
The street they're searching for is located in Omaha, 100 miles away. With a snowstorm coming, the cop points them towards the highway and lets them leave. What he doesn't know is that the couple is high on a drug with a growing popularity among young adults. It's called methamphetamine, and before the night is over, the couple will be in trouble again, pleading with 911 operators to help save their lives.
They told me they locked us all up in these trees up above Mandalay Apartments on Pacific. Why won't they let us out?
Methamphetamine is an upper, a super strong kind of speed that packs a punch 3.5 times more powerful than cocaine. It's a cheap drug. One hit of meth, about 1/4 of a gram, can cost as little as $25. Users snort it, swallow it, smoke it, and shoot it straight into their veins. A single hit can keep someone high for as long as 12 hours. It's not surprising that in the last 10 years, meth use has exploded. In the US, the drug hit the western states first and hardest. Unlike many drugs, meth has grown fastest in rural and small town populations, places not normally associated with drug use. 12 million Americans say they've tried meth at least once, and it's just starting to penetrate large cities in the East. Methamphetamine recognizes no borders. Its reach is global and growing. An estimated 26 million worldwide use the drug. In the dance clubs of London, it's known as a party drug, Tina. While some South African youth are hooked on a version called T. Australia is home to an estimated 70,000 meth addicts. Back in the western United States, those who've seen meth take hold over the last 15 years warn that the drug isn't just a passing phenomenon. It's sunk its teeth into the region, and it won't let go.
The people that are using meth are the people who are committing the crimes in their neighborhoods. Any valuables in the car?
Officer Mike Kranz works the meth beat for the Portland Police Department.
5, 6 years ago, when I worked the street, we didn't see nearly as much meth that we see now, and as much people that are high on it or affected by it or crime that was driven by it.
We're not criminals. We work for a living.
I believe you. Spread your feet out for me.
Meth keeps Officer Kranz busy, pulling cars over, checking people out. He's looking for telltale signs of meth use.
Friend's car, he says.
Stolen goods, needles, false IDs. Meth users commit an estimated 85% of the property crimes and identity theft in this West Coast state.
Now it's like the number one cause of crime. If you talk to people, somehow their life's being affected by meth.
In some American jails, 1 in 4 inmates tests positive for meth when arrested.
Your mind goes first. Your mind be the first thing to go. You start talking about things that ain't even real. You start, seeing things. Eventually, you start hearing things.
And the more you use, the worse it gets. You lose control. You cannot control this drug.
I've been clean since only the 6th of this month.
One of those witnessing the flood was Deputy Brett King, a corrections officer with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. Brett King began reviewing the records of inmates with a history of meth use. What he saw shocked him.
Okay, thank you.
In my line of work, I've seen the full gamut of drugs: cocaine, heroin, LSD, PCP, marijuana, alcohol. But methamphetamine in particular got my interest and concerned me because it's so insidious. There isn't anyone it doesn't touch. It blows away anything else out there.
All drug use.
You're 27 years old and you've been doing meth since you were 12. It's 14 years?
I look about, I'm 27, I look about 40.
King had never seen a drug damage users so severely. These people looked like the living dead.
There were a couple people that stand out in my mind as catching my attention right off the bat. This guy is the first guy. This guy is the guy that really got my attention. He looked tough. He looked like a guy that you didn't want to mess with. He looked healthy and strong. And then you see him in his second picture and he looked helpless, just pitiful.
King started looking through the digital records of more meth users and found that the pictures alone told a devastating story.
It was apparent almost immediately when you saw their picture. I kind of knew that they were on meth. All I had to do was do a little bit of digging to confirm it. But it was a pretty reliable effect with this drug.
To help document this new phenomenon, King began making videos of people coming in high on meth.
You used meth last night, right?
I used the day before and I do that. So, I got a press.
You said you did a quarter ounce of meth last night, is that true? Michael?
Yeah.
How long have you been awake now, Bob? How long have you been up?
Probably 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
These videos show people in the throes of a terrible drug,
So this stuff is different.
one that can make them hyper, paranoid, delusional, and violent.
Perfectly calm. Perfectly calm.
With the video and pictures, King created an educational program called Faces of Meth. His goal? To stop families from being torn apart by the drug.
These people have lives, they have families. They're often someone's son or daughter, mother or father, brother or sister. These are real people with real problems, and they're part of our community.
King has seen firsthand how meth can destroy a promising young life.
I went to school with this guy. He's a pretty good guy. He's been to jail 44 times here. That's not counting the other places he's been.
His name is Kobe Kempe, and his story is typical of a meth user. Back in high school, Kobe seemed to have a bright future ahead of him, but meth cut it short.
I was an athlete. I guess you could call me a jock. I had a lot of friends. I had a really nice car.
Popular?
Yeah, I was popular.
During his high school years, Kobe began trying drugs, including cocaine. One day he went looking to buy a hit of coke, but the dealer offered him something else. Something that would change his life forever.
She had this stuff called crystal meth, and I'd never even heard of it. Never even heard that name.
Kobe tried it before a big track meet and experienced a high unlike anything he'd felt before.
It's almost like you have superhuman powers. It's almost like you feel like you're a different entity. You're all of a sudden more than you were. You know, you're just better. Kind of like you won the lottery. You never have to work again. Your endurance is just off the map.
Meth was working its magic, increasing Kobe's heart rate and making him feel stronger and more focused.
And I remember after I consumed the meth, the first event was a shot put, and I threw the shot put, and I set the school record at that meet for the shot put.
So the first time you did meth, you set the shot put record?
Shot put record for my school.
But over the years, the more he used the drug, the more he needed it. He dropped everything to get his hands on more meth. Instead of becoming the successful athlete or businessman he might have been, he racked up dozens of arrests over the course of 20 years.
What is that like to have a son, star football player, star track runner?
In the beginning, it was devastating. But then towards the end, when he was out on the streets and he was half dead, it was a relief to know he was in jail.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
You were happy when the police called and said he's in jail.
You knew where he was.
Because you know he's not going to get killed out there, or he's not going to kill somebody else.
Kobe is fortunate in one way. He has survived his meth nightmare physically intact. But other victims of the drug are not so lucky. They must live with permanent damage that's much more than skin deep. Deputy Brett King of the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office is taking us inside a Portland, Oregon jail to meet an inmate. One of many whose body and mind have been damaged by meth.
Okay, ladies, we have cameras going inside this housing unit. If you do not want to be on camera, do not be in the view of the camera.
How long have you been?
I've been clean for 7 months.
How long did you use meth?
All my life. Because it's a powerful drug. It makes people really brave. They can do anything on meth. You know, it's almost like a magical drug to people. And they feel strong. They can do anything, and they believe their own psychosis. Because I believed mine for the longest time until I looked at myself. I used to think I was very pretty, and I don't see that anymore. It's done it real quick to me. 1 minute I was on it for a week, the next you know, here I am 5 years later. That quick. I'm ashamed. And I don't know.
Meth can transform the appearance of users. While under its spell, many feel a crawling sensation and begin to pick at their skin, creating open sores. And that's not all meth does. Julie is experiencing one of the peculiar side effects of meth use. She's losing her teeth.
I don't look like Julie anymore. My jawline right here is basically deformed.
So does that hurt right now when I tap on it? Okay, how about this one?
Ah.
This kind of tooth decay is so common among meth addicts, it even has a name, meth mouth.
They need to be addressed in another appointment. Because there's teeth missing in the back, you're doing a lot of your chewing with your front teeth, because these teeth are basically working in a way that they were not necessarily designed for.
Julie's mouth should look like this, but meth destroys teeth by impeding the flow of saliva. Because many addicts don't drink enough fluids, bacteria as well as natural acids can accumulate, eating away at enamel and gums. Julie has lost 12 teeth. And there's another reason for meth mouth. Meth addicts often don't brush their teeth or visit the dentist. Whatever money they have typically goes to buy more drugs.
Something you gotta have versus dental care. Dental care goes by the wayside very
They can't pay for meth and for their teeth.
Right. It's a cost allocation.
They'd rather have the meth than have their teeth fixed.
Right.
All of it at the end, you lose. You're what we call you're burnt. You just don't get it. It's a psychosis.
Rotting teeth may take years to develop, but the brain reacts in an instant to every hit of meth. At first, users can feel euphoric, energetic, and confident. That altered reality is what attracts people to drugs in the first place. In 1 year, a reported 25 million people worldwide used meth at least once, including many who seem to have nothing to escape from. Janelle Hornicle grew up in the lush farmlands of Middle America. She has no known history of drug use. But on this night, she's been to a party and she's high on meth, a drug that 1 in 20 college students say they've used. She and her boyfriend, Michael Walmsley, tried it earlier today, possibly for the first time. They've been trying to make their way back home, and now they've driven their truck off the road and into the snow.
911, what's emergency?
These are the actual recordings of their calls to 911. You can hear the meth talking, and that means trouble for those who are trying to find them.
What's the address? It's the street right above Mandalay Apartments. What is the address? Omaha, Nebraska 68124. Appleton Plaza. I don't know how to get out of here. The police are on the window, okay? Okay.
The couple thinks they know where they are, but they don't. Janelle tells the operator to search for them near their apartment building in Omaha, but they're actually about 20 miles away in a remote farm area.
What brought you to that location?
My pickup.
Why would your pickup go to that location?
I don't know.
With the blizzard raging outside their truck and meth raging inside their brains, Janelle Hornicle and Michael Walmsley are locked in a dangerous battle against their own minds. It's just the beginning of a meth-induced nightmare.
Each individual had ingested enough methamphetamine to affect their judgment.
Henry Nipper is a toxicologist at Creighton University in Omaha, Janelle Hornicle's school. With meth sweeping across the heartland, Nipper has seen firsthand how the drug affects its victims.
You can almost look at their behavior, and you can look at the textbook, and you can go, check, 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 it's methamphetamine.
That night, the wind chill temperature is about 10 below zero. The truck gives them their best chance of survival. They have about a half a tank of gas, enough fuel to keep the cab warm until sunrise and beyond. It's an obvious choice, a no-brainer even if you're high on most other street drugs. But meth is different. It combines the hyperactivity of cocaine with the delusions of LSD. Meth causes the heart to pump faster than normal. Janelle and Michael are likely feeling overheated, and their minds are clearly seeing things that are not there.
Please help me. There's a lot of Mexicans and African Americans, and they're all dressed up in like these close outfits, and they're moving all the vehicles. And I'm having trouble understanding what you're actually saying. Why won't they let us out? I think I'm gonna have to start running and get out of the vehicle.
The meth pushes the couple from the truck.
You know that they left a truck that was warm, that had plenty of gas. They left the safety of the truck because they were describing things they had seen out in the fields that they interpreted as a threat. So they were exhibiting paranoia.
Meth has taken the couple out of reality, given them a burst of energy, and made them feel strong enough to fight the elements. It could be a tragedy in the making. But the most shocking part is not what meth does to its users. In fact, meth is doing exactly what it was designed to do nearly 100 years ago. And that's the problem. Methamphetamine is engineered to trick your brain. It can keep you awake, stop you from eating, and make you feel brave. The Japanese invented meth nearly a century ago. But for years it was a drug without much purpose, until the ideal opportunity arose: war. In World War II, troops on both sides of the lines took meth to keep fighting through lack of sleep and little food. The Japanese kamikaze pilots reportedly used meth to keep them stoked for their suicide missions. Half a century later, more than 60% of the world's methamphetamine users live in Asia. But here's the twist. Meth is illegal. But in cities like Bangkok, Thailand, meth isn't simply a kind of social poison. On the contrary, in a go-go economy where millions are scrambling to get ahead, meth is used by working people looking for a boost. Here, meth is called yaba. It comes in pill form laced with caffeine. Yaba is popular with working people like cab drivers or construction workers. The meth in yaba helps them stay awake, work more shifts, and earn more money. Meth use is so deeply ingrained in the Thai work culture that some bosses even hand it out to employees to keep up production. Some say the pressure to compete has created a generation of Thai meth addicts. We managed to visit a construction site in Bangkok where the workers use meth on a regular basis, including while we were there. Why do you use yaba? How does yaba make you feel?
It gives me energy and makes me feel like I have to be doing something all the time. I can't stay still. I can work for 2 days and 2 nights straight without stopping. If I don't have the drug, my muscles feel weak and I can't do anything. I don't have any energy, so I have to keep using more yaba, and then I can keep working.
Initially, the energy boost provided by meth makes people work harder. Some stay up for days working non-stop. But with continued use, the drug can take a violent turn. It breaks down the body and mind, making many users paranoid, even psychotic. In the past, Thailand has been overwhelmed by its meth problem. At one point, the Thai government estimated that 3 million people used the drug. Hundreds of thousands were hardcore addicts. Several violent scenes played out on the evening news. Bizarre cases in which normal people high on yaba snapped from the pressure of too much work and too much meth. These hostage dramas broadcast on national television helped fuel the meth crisis. The government's response? A brutal crackdown. In 2003, they launched an all-out war on the drug and its users. In just 3 months, more than 2,000 suspected drug dealers and yaba users were killed. That's 25 a day. Many accused the government of committing wholesale executions, but no police were ever brought to trial. The price of yaba went up. Users went into hiding, but they're still there. Despite the risk, the painter continues to smoke yaba on the job.
If the police catch me, I'm going to jail for sure. I have to move all the time. I can't go home.
Meth addicts in Thailand literally fear for their lives. We were only able to film them under the most secretive circumstances. Yaba means danger, even on the streets where almost anything goes. In the red light districts of Bangkok, yaba helps prop up the 24-hour market for sex. Many of the women here come from the countryside. They say they use yaba in order to keep working longer hours so they can send more money back home.
First, you break the pill in half and make it into smaller pieces like this.
These women also feared for their lives and asked not to be seen. Only 17, they're already experts at smoking yaba.
You put the pill here to make it melt. Turn the lighter just a little because you don't want the foil to get burned. I feel hungry and tired without yaba, but after using it, I'm not hungry and I'm wide awake. I also feel relaxed. I don't feel worried anymore. It feels good.
Yaba keeps you going, but users find they're striking a deal with the devil. The money that once supported the family back home now just buys more meth.
I used to have a lot of money. Now I am broke because I spent it on these pills.
As with any form of methamphetamine, the more you use, the more you need. Here's how the destructive spiral works. Methamphetamine travels through the bloodstream to the nucleus accumbens, a central reward center for the brain. This is a release site for the neurotransmitter dopamine, the chemical key to human pleasure. Dopamine is a natural chemical that causes us to feel good. More dopamine means more pleasure. It's one of the ways the brain rewards behavior that helps us survive. Food and sex are two of the highest natural pleasures. In mice, they can trigger around 150 units of dopamine. But drugs trick the brain to go even further. Meth actually sneaks into the neurons and forces more dopamine out. One hit of meth may trigger more than 1,200 units of dopamine. That's a rush 3.5 times more intense than cocaine and about 6 times what the body can do on its own. And the meth high lasts much longer than other drugs, up to 12 hours. But the higher the climb, the harder the fall. In America, researchers study the particular effects of meth on the brain. It's a race to understand the drug's long-term effects and to come up with strategies for combating the addiction. Among their subjects, mice on meth. In the lab, researchers teach mice that by pressing on a bar, they can get a dose of meth. Even for rodents, the meth triggers pleasure, so the mice quickly learn to seek the reward.
That's right. He originally learned that if he would press that bar in the back, he would get a dose of methamphetamine.
Then the meth is removed. Dr. Greg Mark explains what happens next.
We basically turned off the little pump that gave him methamphetamine, and he slowly stopped taking the drug, and now things like this stressful situation will make him go back and look for that drug again, even though it's not going to give them anything.
Wow, look at
There he goes again.
Even when they succeed in getting a hold of meth, human addicts can feel just as trapped as the frantic mouse. They just keep chasing that first euphoric high, but it keeps getting harder and harder to find. In time, addicts can't experience pleasure at all, with or without the drug. Their brains won't let them. Studies reveal that meth actually damages the brain, perhaps forever. It's the body's way of fighting back against the drug that's pushing out dopamine. The brain shuts the overloaded neurons down. Meth users go from having too much dopamine to having too little. Addicts begin chasing the high, binging for days on end. They will stop at virtually nothing to get a fix and surge of dopamine, even after it has started taking over their minds.
For the first time in my life, I remember having, I don't know what you call it, hallucinations, what I've done for so many days.
For close to 2 decades, meth controlled Kobe Kempe's life, infiltrating his brain and bringing disturbing visions. In this jailhouse interview during his addict days, He tells Brett King about the common hallucination known as meth bugs.
I remember sitting with tweezers picking till blood was running out. I'd be digging these holes in my skin, and every time I tried to pick them, I thought they would be digging down farther into my skin. And I remember my dad just broke down crying in the front yard, and what, Dad, what's wrong? And he realized what was going on. He realized I was so up in my head that I was having these hallucinations, that I'd been up for so long on meth, that I was seeing this that wasn't there, and I didn't realize it, but I was hallucinating that there was these bugs all over my skin.
Kobe Kempe is still not clear of the meth temptation. Reminders of his old life are everywhere.
I've been clean over a year, and there's almost not a day that goes by that a drug thought doesn't come into my head.
Haunting memories can strike at any time, even in the most innocent-looking neighborhood.
The last time I ever used methamphetamine was at this house right here. This is the last place I got high, was here.
It looks harmless, but for years, this was a meth house run by a friend of Kobe's.
I was in this bathroom with a needle in my arm. I have a scar that'll never go away. That's thousands of holes to make a scar like that.
The neighborhood is scarred too. Old computers and other garbage taken from the now empty meth house litter the front yard. On the street, oil stains left behind by countless cars filled with addicts looking for meth.
Like 24/7, coming and going, coming and going.
And this is one of so many.
This is just, this is a fraction of so many. This is just one little block in one little town in one little city.
Meth has been particularly easy to get because to find it, you don't have to go too far. What many consider the world's most dangerous drug can be cooked up at home from common cold medicine. Meth has been around as a street drug since the 50s, but only in limited amounts. Ephedrine, the basic ingredient for making meth, was an obscure chemical used in farm feed. Biker groups in the western U.S. used farm ephedrine to make meth. They called it crank because they would hide the drug in the crankcases of their motorcycles. But then something happened that caused a backstreet revolution. In the 1980s, common cold medicine containing ephedrine and its cousin pseudoephedrine were increasingly popular. The medications dried up sinuses and provided a jolt of energy. And various brands filled pharmacy shelves. Before long, drug dealers found a way to transform the medicine into meth. Police in small towns across North America began confronting a new and dangerous plague: meth labs. By the late 1990s, it seemed like meth was being cooked up everywhere. In motel rooms, garages, the house next door. In 2 years, more than 35,000 meth labs were busted in the United States.
We're working today with 30 milligram tablets.
Lieutenant Jason Gates of the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office led one local charge to shut the labs down.
Yeah, this is the stuff that holds the pill together.
And he's become an expert in the very thing he's trying to stop:
getting through all this packaging
meth.
and everything. A lot of times the cooks won't even bother with this.
He's agreed to show us how easy it is to cook meth while leaving out key steps to prevent copycatters from trying it at home. The goal of this process is to extract the pure pseudoephedrine from cold tablets. The tools used are crude and dangerous. Methyl alcohol from gasoline additives, ether from spray cans, lithium from batteries. This is one of the reasons meth has spread so quickly. The ingredients for making it are legal, inexpensive, and easily available.
If you can make chocolate chip cookies, then you can cook methamphetamine. A lot of these folks have no chemistry background at all. They're just mixing A and B together like they'd be mixing milk and eggs, and they don't even know what it's going to do.
The preparation is complete. The pseudoephedrine has been taken from the pill.
This is pseudoephedrine.
Now the real cooking can begin. Meth may be easy to make, but it can just as easily blow up in your face. In the past several years, emergency rooms and burn units have reported alarming increases in meth-related visits, many due to lab fumes and explosions. Unlike most meth producers, Jason Gates and his team take heavy precautions. As you can see, even our camera has to be back behind this line because it's so toxic. The drug cocktail bubbles with poisonous fumes. Hydrogen chloride gas spews from the mixture, capable of burning skin, eyes, and lungs. Anhydrous ammonia, a chemical used by farmers to fertilize their fields, is a key catalyst. It's a risky lab lesson with a dangerous outcome.
You can see the methamphetamine is now dissolving into the ether layer. We need to make the methamphetamine back into a usable form. This is it. This is where we're going to get meth.
Inside the jar, the pseudoephedrine is now mutating into a new molecule. The new man-made molecule closely resembles the dopamine molecule naturally produced by the brain. Meth is designed to enter the brain and trick it into sending out more dopamine.
You can see the methamphetamine floating around in the solution now. We're going to filter off the ether. We'll have pure methamphetamine.
Using items that could be purchased at neighborhood stores, the team has manufactured meth in under an hour.
This is actually a significant quantity. I mean, this is enough to support a drug habit for a week or more for one person.
Just this?
Yeah, just this little tiny bit.
What's that worth, just that little bit?
This is probably about $300 worth of meth, right? Just in here.
Meth is so easy to make, the drug's explosive growth seems almost impossible to stop.
I drove to that party and I did meth for the first time.
Educators use public service announcements like this one
I did meth.
to warn young people of the dangers of meth.
This is my life.
Some of the most powerful ads come from the Montana Meth Project. They target young people, making meth as unglamorous as possible.
I'm not gonna be like that guy. I'm not gonna be like that guy.
The United Nations is calling for international control of ephedrine production in China, India, and Germany. In the US, the government now restricts the cold medicine Americans buy. In some places, it even takes a prescription to buy ephedrine-based tablets, all because of meth. The tactic has worked, up to a point. The number of lab seizures has plummeted 30% across the US. But something surprising has happened. Homemade production has gone down, but the supply hasn't. Instead, the meth on the streets continues to flow from another source, Mexico. As mom-and-pop labs went out of business, Mexican meth suppliers stepped up production. They sent meth into the US via routes already established by the cocaine cartels. Mexican meth is getting more attention and using up more public resources. On the east side of Portland, special anti-meth teams follow suspected dealers, hoping to stop the flow of drugs into the city.
Hey, firm, we're good to go. Right now, we're following the unwittings, supposedly where the dope is being kept right now. Our informant is also in tow with that vehicle.
Sean Christian is an undercover cop with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Special Investigation Unit.
Okay, I'm with them.
He's in an unmarked pickup truck, secretly watching a drug deal about to unfold.
She stopped for seconds talking to the other two right now, prankster dudes right now.
Sean is due to return to uniform duty, so he's agreed to be filmed. And he's invited us along to witness part of a non-stop game of cat and mouse between those chasing the drug for a high and those chasing the drug for a bust.
Okay, the prankster girl's getting into the truck right now. I don't know what's going on. She kind of seems like she's the one running the show, though.
Sean and his colleagues spot a suspicious car on the way to the deal.
They checked us out. They checked us out really hard.
A uniformed cop is on hand to pull the suspects over. and sniff out the car for drugs. The two men are from Mexico, and so is their supply.
Scott's dog just alerted.
Hey.
23. What is it?
This is ice, methamphetamine, ice. That's probably 4 ounces.
That's worth about $4,000 on the street.
This is what we see in the Portland metropolitan area quite a bit. It's, Mexican meth is what we'd call this. This is not manufactured here. It's coming straight across the border.
These are professional drug runners, less likely to make mistakes than the meth addicts who cook at home.
They usually don't use, and they don't lose their profits from using, so they're actually in to sell the drugs, and they're not really involved in using it.
There's coke in the car too, but there's a lot more meth.
Depending on the user, you know, your typical hit, which is a very small amount, can keep somebody high anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. And that's what the appealing part of this is. Cocaine in the past was a half hour to an hour on a hit, and this will last, it's very intense and lasts a longer period of time. Now, there's still a market for the cocaine, but meth, as you can see, the difference in quantities is taken over cocaine's popularity.
Cheap, long-lasting, and easy to find, meth has become, in some circles, the new drug to try. 10 years ago, the young couple might have tried coke at a party. But tonight, they're on meth, and now there's no turning back. Their survival depends, in part, on how soon the drug wears off and frees their minds. The methamphetamine that is sending Janelle Hornicle and Michael Walmsley out into a dangerous snowstorm is not the homemade kind. They've used a version called crystal meth, mass-produced in a Mexican super lab. This version of the drug is often more pure, more potent, and more dangerous. By now, it's 2 hours after their first 911 call. The couple has wandered on foot nearly a mile in the blizzard with no idea of where they've come from or where they're headed. They've stumbled onto the grounds of a rock quarry and taken refuge in a small metal shack.
We're just like over from 76. That's like 75. That doesn't make sense.
The 911 calls continue.
Sheriff's departments now, we've talked to Omaha, we've talked to numerous people, and nobody can figure out where you're at.
If Michael and Janelle had taken any other popular drug, its effects would probably be wearing off by now. But with meth, the effects can continue for 12 hours.
They see lights on a shack, and then he says something about people being at the shack or on the shack or something. I go, okay, great, fantastic.
Oh, there's people on the shack? Yes. Yell at them and say, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Please, can you hear us? Can you please help us?
He's trying, he is. He's trying to help himself. Michael is. The drugs are getting in the way because there were no people there.
Are they responding to you? No, I don't think they speak English. I don't know any Spanish or any other languages.
Desperate for information, the 911 operators make a call to the Hornicle family farm, and they ask Janelle's mother a painful question.
I had no idea where they'd be. And she said, are they drug users? And I says, no, not at all. I mean, I didn't even hesitate. There was no question. No, they weren't drug users.
By now, the couple's time is running out. Meth is still in their systems, and they're no closer to getting help.
But, Sam, I don't know. I don't need to say. Oh my God. Okay.
The next call comes in at 4:20 in the morning. Janelle Hornicle is no longer heard. Michael Walmsley is now alone, and the night of wandering is about to come to an end.
We're trying to find you. We don't know. You were in a shed. Now you're out walking again? Yeah. It's okay now. Kids will take care of tomorrow. Everything's gonna fit. Well, where are you at? We can get you some help. Okay.
It is the last call the dispatcher will receive. Searchers find Michael Walmsley's body a day and a half later. He had traveled 1.5 miles from the truck where his journey started. The cell phone was found nearby. As for Janelle, it took a week of searching to find her body buried in the snow. She had fallen over a small cliff and never got up again. She was 20 years old, another example of the kind of tragedy that meth produces on a daily basis. Janelle's mother, a nurse, believes the young couple was new to methamphetamine.
They had no signs of drugs. She still had her beautiful hair, and she still had her beautiful skin. There was just no signs. I would know those signs.
You were talking a little bit about your meth use.
Michael and Janelle are just 2 among 500,000 young adults experts say try meth each year.
Aspect of my life is led, so.
For most, the drug won't bring a rapid death. Instead, it will drag many into a wasted life of addiction.
You get real heartless when you do it. You know, you're gonna do anything to get your next bag. You can see the shame, but you're just so, you're high and you don't care. You put your head down and walk away.
Meth is one of the most addictive substances on the planet. As much as 92% of users relapse after treatment. After 20 years as a user, Kobe Kempe is now in rehab. Each day has been a battle.
That is hard to come out of the fog and, okay, now I want to live life, but, you know, life is, you know, I'm 20 years behind everybody. You know, all my friends got houses and great salaries and wives and kids, and here I am, you know, right out of high school still.
It's just astounding how everything went to hell just because of a white powder. It just ruined his life. And now we'd like to think that it's over. And we'd like to think that he's back and that things are gonna go forward now.
Kobe is putting his life back together.
This is like throwing fish.
He's working with his father in the family business and repairing the damage done by the drug.
I can just do the best with what I have today and make myself a better man, and that's the only way I can really make those amends to them is change and continue to change. That's the only way you can really pay back your debts is turn from that life and never walk back.
Rehab, job, and family all help, but the 20 years he lost to meth will always seem like a bad dream.
Sitting here with over a year clean and sober, I still can't piece together what went wrong, you know? It's incredible how deep the hooks go. That stuff digs into you and it takes you for a ride that you never expected.
Meth beckons with the promise of a pleasure greater than nature alone can create. Then the drug crushes without mercy, leaving nothing.
Well, in her case, she didn't get a chance to go correct a mistake if it was the mistake she made. She didn't have a chance to correct it. But the hurt of it's going to be there for a long time. Because it was such a waste. She had so much potential.
Even as law enforcement steps up the battle against meth makers and dealers, the drug is reaching new populations worldwide.
It's a big concern of mine that the use of this drug will continue to spread and get worse, and worse than it has here in other areas. If they're not ready for it, if they're not prepared, it has a potential to really blow out of control.
From blue-collar workers in Bangkok struggling to keep up, to college kids in the States looking for a new rush, Methamphetamine continues to seduce millions around the world, infecting their brains and bringing crime, chaos, and death wherever it goes.